And hello there. Welcome on into the new feature we have here on Sports Hub STL. We'll be doing this all summer long as we make our way through numbers 0 through 99, as you have seen online on social media and throughout all of the avenues that Sports Hub STL comes to you. We are going to spend the summer debating who the best of the best are throughout all of St. Louis sports. And who better to do that than with Randy Karraker, with Bernie Miklasz. Mike Claiborne will join us along the way, along with some other friends that we have. And guys, I am very excited to go over this. And it's kind of a walk down St. Louis sports history in a way too, as we go over some of these great numbers and great athletes throughout the decades and decades of St. Louis sports.
And I'm a numbers guy, so I will thoroughly enjoy this. I know Bernie will as well. By the way, we're going to go, we have to do 0 and 00. There have been a couple of 00s in St. Louis sports history as well. We've even had multiple zeros. So yeah, there's a lot of things we can do here. This is fun.
It will be. And obviously, Bernie, there's no reason to even debate number one in all of this. So we're just going to get after it with number 2. And along the way, we will go over, more of the debatable numbers, if you will. I think, Bernie, 5 and 6, I think, are accounted for. I think we're good there, right?
I think so. I mean, with all due respect to Barrett Jackman, for example, I think we're, I think we're good at number 5 and number 6. And Joe Roderick, just want to pause for a moment to thank you for putting the list together of all of the numbers. And, I was trying to go through it and see, is there somebody, it's so easy to overlook guys. And so we added some more, but I was laughing at some of these. And Randy, I know, and Joe, you guys feel the same way looking at the list. There are some numbers where it's just absolutely ridiculous in terms of the volume of truly great players from various sports. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, how in the heck can you decide between these guys, right? And then you get down to, I forget what the number is, but just the name will make everyone laugh. Then you get down to another number later on the list based on the numerical order. And the only guy in the category for that number is Richie Incognito. So it's like, pardon the cliche, but it's like feast or famine, So, but Joe, thanks for putting that list together. And these things are fun. These things are
I'm blocked by him on Twitter, by the way. I don't know if either of you two are, but I am. So badge of honor for that.
By the way, we can actually have a mini debate here between Richie Incognito and rookie spring training Albert Pujols.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There you go. We can just put we should just have Albert Pujols on the list twice for best number.
we can do it.
We can't give Richie Cognito the best of anything. I draw the line on that. I can live with some of these other guys that are just like one guy for that number, but not Richie Incognito. So yeah, we'll declare right now Albert Pujols will be a 2-time winner.
Along the way, we will do some of these for some of the more debatable numbers. They will be much shorter videos, and we ask for your input along the way. We're just going to throw out credentials for these guys and talk about why they deserve to be on this list, and you will see each and every week on our newsletter and on our social media accounts as we count you through the top 100 jersey numbers in St. Louis sports history. And guys, the reason we are doing this and starting at number 2, because it's one of those where you can sit there and you can make a case for either one of these guys. And we want you guys to dive in on this too. In the comments, reply to us on Twitter, just get in touch with us, comment on the YouTube comments, and let us know your thoughts, because at number 2, we have Red Schoendienst with the Cardinals and Al MacInnis of the Blues. Bernie, I will start with you on this, just right off the top of your head. I mean, this is how tough of a decision is this as you look through who the best of the best is at number 2?
Well, it's more agonizing than anything, because if Al MacInnis wore a different number, he would probably sail through. There's a lot of, like we mentioned, a lot of numbers where, frankly, there's just not a lot of talent there. And Al MacInnis is a great player, was a great player. He's a Hall of Fame player. He had one of the hardest slap shots, most feared slap shots in the history of the NHL. Great team guy, team captain, still works for the Blues, and just a tremendous human being. But on the other hand, so I wish he had his own spot. But on the other hand, if I'm not mistaken, Red Schoendienst spent more days in a Cardinals uniform than any man in the history of the franchise, and they've had some illustrious guys. I mean, he was a Hall of Fame player. He was a manager that won one World Series and 2 pennants. He was a coach. He wasn't he was a specific coach, but he also, long after his official coaching days were over, he was still around the Cardinals spring training, regular season, every single day, practically to the end of his life. And he was a valued treasure guy. I mean, Schoendienst is one of the all-time great Cardinals, and given his longevity in the uniform and all that he accomplished and all the people that he helped, what they accomplished as well. It's just hard to deny him number 2 as much as Al MacInnis deserves to be recognized in such a heralded way.
Think about this. You've got 2 guys that both have statues out in front of the buildings that their teams played in, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing to think of it from that perspective. And Bernie, what you say about Red is 100% right. But when Al MacInnis came here, every year he was a Blue. He was an all-star. He won the Norris Trophy. He was regarded not only as the best defenseman in the league, but I think for those years, and I'm breaking it down because I won't use Red's years with the Giants or Milwaukee. I won't use Al's years with Calgary. But I think that for the majority of the time here, MacInnis was regarded as one of the 2 or 3 best defensemen in the league. And I think historically, he's one of the 10 best defensemen in the history of the league. And I think the time in St. Louis, if you just slice out his time in St. Louis, he would still have those accolades. Right. But that being said, for me, what does set things apart is for me, the fact that Red won one World Series as a player, Chopper did not. Doesn't make any difference because they were on teams. Great players. To me, the separator here is Red's time as the organizational leader, the face of the franchise, like you said, won a World Series, won 2 other pennants, and is just an iconic St. Louisan, taking nothing away again from Al MacInnis, whom we all love. But Red is one of the top 10 citizens of St. Louis in my lifetime. And I give Red the edge for things that he did while he was not playing.
Right. That's a great way to frame it. Like if you and I or any fan watching this or listening to this, we're going to base it on, well, who had the best playing career? I think it would be Al MacInnis. I mean, Red's career lasted longer, but I think in baseball, it's easier to last longer than hockey. And, Al MacInnis was a highly decorated player. He, like Red, was a Hall of Fame player, but he won more awards. He was a more elite player in his sport than Red was in baseball. But this is more of an all-encompassing thing if it applies. Like Red, as you just said, I don't want to repeat what you said, but in terms of a lifetime, I don't know that anybody that we're going to consider on this list of 100 numbers in terms of lifetime prominence and prestige for one of these franchises at the highest of levels. I don't know that anyone can match Red Schoendienst. Maybe there's somebody, and maybe I'm temporarily overlooking.
I think the only guy that could is his best friend, right? I think 6 would be the only other one.
Right. And so, I hate to say the word the phrase lifetime achievement, because that they usually give that to people that deserve to win an Oscar but never won an Oscar, so they give them a lifetime achievement. Mm-hmm. With Red, it's not just lifetime achievement; it's lifetime prominence and lifetime influence in every single way it could be possible for the St. Louis Cardinals. Heck, he was Randy. You'll remember this. Joe, you'll remember this. Red was also the guy that usually was the interim manager. Mm-hmm. And I remember when Whitey Herzog just got fed up and walked away in 1990. Red was the interim manager, and the first thing he did, God bless this man, because that team was a little out of control, the 90 Cardinals, because Whitey was sick of them and they were sick of everything. So the first thing Red did is he calls a meeting and he like tells the players, well, this is the way it's going to be. First of all, there's no telephones in here. And whatever gadgets you have, you're playing video, all that stuff, it doesn't belong in here. They're banned. Okay. They're banned. None of this stuff. We're going to focus on baseball. And then he laid down all these rules. So he wasn't just an interim guy that was just kind of playing out the string. He like really took charge of that team.
Yeah.
And they were pretty good after he took over because the players were like, wow. They thought maybe some old guy's just going to come in and smile at him and play hard, boys. No. I mean, I'll never forget Rick Hummel telling me the story about how Red just threw down the gauntlet. He walked in there and just like basically told the players, this is how it's going to be done, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. I mean, I don't know how old he was at that time, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. Hey, let me throw one other guy in here and how dramatically things changed based upon one move. If it's not for Judge Edward Houston and Jack Quinn, Scott Stevens is probably in this conversation. And the Blues went out and got Al MacInnis because they had lost Scott Stevens, who wore number 2 for them in the arbitration hearing. If Judge Houston makes another decision, then we might be talking about Red or Scott Stevens today.
That's a good point. See, this is why I love Randy Karraker. He comes up with that stuff. I come up with all the fancy numbers and things like that, but he comes up with these great historical flourishes that even a guy like me has forgotten about. That's excellent. Thank you.
On that day that the Blues, because Chopper had worn number 2 in Calgary, on that 4th of July, which was 1994, I believe, when they re-signed Stevens to the restricted sheet, he was going to come back to them wearing number 4. Chopper was going to wear number 2. But obviously New Jersey matched the offer, and the Blues wound up losing more first-round draft choices because they tried to sign Scott Stevens again. Had the deal done actually before free agency was starting. They had the deal done actually during the wintertime. Jack Quinn kept the files in his filing cabinet, so the NHL descends upon the old arena, and they find the signed contract that they had offered to Scott Stevens like in the winter of 94, well before they could sign him. And they found this stuff in like 98 or 99, I think. It might have even been later than that. And they docked the Blues a couple more first-round draft choices.
I don't know if Scott Stevens is going to top Red or Al MacInnis, but this is where we hand things over to you, the audience of Sports Hub STL. We want to hear from you and get your thoughts on who is the best of the best to wear number 2. Chime in and let your voice be heard, and make sure to like and subscribe to us on all of our different platforms to get involved with all of the debates here from 0 through 99 on the by the numbers what we're doing.
The one thing I'm going to interject something. I'm trying to remember the name of the coach, but the only thing that frightens me a little about these kind of polls, right? And we want all the fans to vote. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes we are all kind of like prisoners to the moment, right? And I remember when the Green Bay Packers, with the largest supermarket chain in the Green Bay area, they did one of these things. And Randy, you can help me out. So the fans voted for, instead of Bart Starr as the quarterback, they voted for Don Mikowski. Right. and I kid you not. And this is the fact that I can't remember his name actually tells you how preposterous it was. Lombardi was not selected. Vince Lombardi was not selected as the coach. It was
Lindy Infante?
There you go. Thank you. Lindy Infante. So my goodness, people, Randy and Joe and I, we love you. We're grateful for everything. For you coming to Sports Hub STL and giving us an audience. We love you, but please, let's not pull a Lindy Infante on some of these great players. All right. Like you can't live in the moment. You can't say, well, I didn't see Ozzie Smith play. I'm going to vote for somebody else. No, you got to know your history a little bit. That's all we're saying. Anyway, go ahead. Right?
The internet will be your friend on some of these. Trust me, when you get into the 60s and 70s, the internet is your friend, and that's why we have brought on to help with this people like Randy, people like Bernie. And I'll tell you this too, I was reading some of the names when we get into those 60s and 70s. I was reading off the Claves, and he would just spit out 4 facts about the guy whose name I was saying for the very first time in my life. So we have the historians of St. Louis sports on hand for this, and we are very much looking forward to taking you through the numbers here on Sports Hub STL. We'll be back with you next time to debate another great number in St. Louis sports history. Keep it right here on Sports Hub STL.